All right. Well, guys, sorry for the delay on that one there. Yeah, I didn't even roll the intro on this one. Man, that was interesting. So what happened is you schedule your events in YouTube, and then it gives you all the information. Well, it wasn't accepting the stream key. Like I don't know what it was doing. It first accepted the stream key, then it goes in the preview, and then it would never load the thing, and then it was stuck on preview. So I couldn't stop it. I couldn't reset it. I just had to delete it and create a entirely new stream. So that was definitely an interesting thing. So my apologies for the delay, guys. And if anybody wants to keep that other one over there, and oh boy, I have an error on my Arch updates. Ah, no. All right. Anyway, we'll deal with that later. But
I'll be
anyway,
back in 30
yeah. So
seconds.
if anybody keeps an eye on that old stream and posts people over, hopefully people realize that the stream changed hands, and it looks like we have a bunch of people coming on this end here as well. This is going to be completely messed up because of all the social media stuff that's sending everybody to the old one. Oh boy. Oh well. How's everybody today?
Good.
All right. Vince, how's it going out that way? Yep. Vince, you're muted, but if you're trying to say something, it's our turn to... yeah. All right. Yeah, so, yeah, Vince is muted. Vince, you're muted. You're muted. There we go.
Yeah, no, it's pretty nice here. It's sunny, 13 degrees.
Hey, it's 84 Fahrenheit out here. So. It's our turn. Our turn. That's okay, though. We'll get there. All right, and Pizza's back. Greetings, Pizza. Pizza, I understand this was the last day of school, right?
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah.
Can you? Just a quick question. Can you guys hear my brother? Still?
Every now and again, but haven't heard him.
I'll just mute my mic when I'm not talking. That will fix it.
Sounds good. And Kitty's on over here. So today we're talking about the privacy laws and digital services. We're going to be looking at HIPAA. We're going to be looking at FERPA, and there's this new lawsuit surrounding Google and the University of Chicago. So that's kind of going to be our jumping point. So I'm going to go ahead and start recording here, and then we will introduce the stream again, and we'll go from there. That way we have a good place to record from. All right, well, welcome back to Switch to Linux. We have a panel discussion here of patron and Think Life Media supporters. If you would like to join in on these discussions on Thursdays, you can any tier level at Think Life Media or patreon.com, patreon.com/Tom M. You will get the stream keys and the articles and a chance to hang out a little bit. So with that, we're going to be talking about HIPAA, FERPA. We're going to be talking about digital privacy, digital services, and things like that. So before we dive in, anybody have any initial thoughts?
I mean, when we think about how Google makes its money on data collected by its user base, it is sort of alarming that they would be storing and cataloging health records and attempting to de-anonymize allegedly anonymized records.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So at the beginning of my school year, I actually read the agreement, and then I actually read the privacy agreement or whatever. And I didn't accept it. I didn't want to use the computers because they literally record every single thing you do, and that includes logging in the stuff. So theoretically, they could even get my passwords for things. Mm-hmm. So at first, I wasn't going to accept it. However, I was forced to because I had first semester I had video production, which uses the school computers. And this semester I had a computer-aided design, which you also need the school computers for. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I was literally forced into using the school computers. Plus, we have to do things like standardized testing on the computers. We have to do like write essays and stuff. Sometimes we are forced to type stuff up. Mm-hmm. So overall, pretty much every student is forced to use the computers in some way or another.
So even though
you're forced into accepting this privacy policy.
Yeah. So even the people who have said, okay, I have read your agreement, I disagree with your agreement, in my public school education settings, I'm still forced, not I agree to, forced to use the services that I don't want to use. And that
Yes.
is kind of what we're talking about. Now, of course, Ben was talking about the HIPAA medical. You're talking more about the FERPA, the school education type stuff. Now, what you're describing is bad, but it doesn't specifically intersect with FERPA. But it's a little too close for my comfort. And Vince said he'll be right back. So we will go ahead and start up the article here. So we're going to be
I
looking...
forgot to mention.
Yep.
Sorry, but I forgot to mention they make Microsoft accounts for every single student.
Yeah, and I bet that they gave Microsoft your real birth date and every other piece of information that Microsoft wanted about you.
I bet that Microsoft has. I bet you that they have figured out how to connect my actual account that I use to my student account.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I bet money on it that they have connected it.
Yep,
in some
absolutely.
way.
Absolutely. And so we're using as our launching point this article from The Verge. Google accused of inappropriate access to medical data in a potential class action lawsuit. And this deals with a digital program down at the, or over at, from me, up at, from some of you, the University of Chicago Medical Center. I think it's University of Chicago. Yeah, University of Chicago Medical Center. So the basic gist of this is companies including Microsoft, Apple, Google have all pitched their services to medical institutions, promising they can help organize medical data and use this information to develop new AI diagnostic tools. Plans are often met with resistance from privacy advocates who say that the data will give tech giants an unprecedented view into the lives of their customers. So the lawsuit in question, which first was reported by the New York Times, is concerned with a deal made in 2017 between Google and the University of Chicago Medical Center, which is also named as a defendant. So Google was given access to patient records from University of Chicago Medicine between 2009 and 2016. So if you visited that hospital between 2009 and 2016, they gave a lot of your data to Google. Okay, so it said it would use to develop new AI tools. Now, at the time, Google said it was ready to start accurately predicting medical events, such as whether patients will be hospitalized, how long they will stay. I mean, imagine that, like the police come and knock on your door because an AI predicted that you might have a medical event soon. Well, I mean, yeah, I just have a heart attack now. I mean, really. Ben, thoughts on that?
I mean, what the AI algorithm works so good on YouTube, doesn't it? I mean, they only flag the correct stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, that has a touch of, the medical version of Minority Report to it.
Yes, it does. If you're unfamiliar with Minority Report, of course, he's talking about the pre-crime division. So they have these three precogs, these three psychics that can predict when a crime is going to happen, and then the police go and arrest the person prior to the crime actually occurring. Definitely an interesting thing.
Sorry, Pizza.
You can talk.
And also, I mean, if they've got, if the AI thinks that, for instance, you've got some condition and you're not going to make it, they might just say, well, this schmo isn't worth it. Let's, throw these resources elsewhere. There's a lot of there's some dark elements if you want to take it far enough.
Yeah, so, and that raises that issue that there is that concern around socialized medicine, that at what point in time is a person just a, quote, drain on society, so let the person die or euthanize them. And obviously there's a lot of groups that would certainly take issue with that. Pizza, you were going to say?
My thoughts are conflicted on this. One, it is quite scary that Google has this much information in that they're able to do this in the first place. However, this could potentially save someone's life if it was done well enough. So that's the other thing about this, is even though it is scary, it can save someone's life.
It could. It could. And Vince, are you back yet or not?
Yeah, me.
All right. Any initial thoughts on this part here?
I don't think it's actually ever going to fly, because if people remember that there are some very important principles with a doctor and a patient relationship, the one being that confidentiality is absolutely key, so that a patient actually feels comfortable telling their doctor, certain important personal details, just so that they get properly treated, right? So if there is enough pushback from the medical field, then I don't think this will ever fly, unless these companies start throwing their weight around. I can see where it could be useful as well. Like Peter said, when you're talking about medical data and medical research, you're talking about enormous quantities of data, and so something like an AI could help to sift through that, especially with research, because research, apparently, if you were to try and sit down and read all the medical research that comes out in a year, it'll take you something like 300 years to read it, just non-stop.
Yeah.
But this is a very, very scary thing if it ever comes to pass.
Yeah, which is why, well, of course, we have specialists in the research field. A general practitioner doesn't necessarily have to read everything that's in the journal of, proctology or something, but a proctologist would. You have that general idea. I have no idea why that particular doctor came to my mind first. But anyway, now, of course, they continued on. The company noted it would use de-identified medical records that would be stripped of any personally identifiable information. Now, the claim of the lawsuit is that while the records, they may have, it's going to take the patient's name off and things. The reality is Google has enough data to trace those records back to individual users. And that's really what the hinge of this is. So crucially, they said they received records when patients were admitted and discharged from the medical center, a potential violation of the federal health data privacy regulation known as HIPAA. So this information says the suit could be combined with location data collected by Google's Android mobile operating system to reveal individual patients' identities. This patient was at University of Chicago Medical Center at the very day that this de-anonymized patient was. That's the point. Now the question is, can you put that data together? Absolutely, you can put that data together very easily, in fact. So
yeah, well, if someone's carrying their phone with them when they're going to the medical center, then Google knows where you are.
Yes.
And also, that's not the only thing they could do. It's not just your location from Android, but they could pair, what if you searched some info on Google about whatever disease you have, and then you went to the hospital? That could be
correct.
The Google has so much information that potentially anything can be traced. And not only that, but also, even if they remove the name, still you could still pretty much figure out who someone is based on just medical information because of how specific it can get down to. So for example, somebody has cancer. I don't know why that came to my mind first, but if somebody had cancer, that quite a few people have cancer. However, somebody had a specific type of cancer, and whether or not it went away, stuff like that. Eventually, you'll have enough information to identify someone, or at least get it down to a group of people.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
and also,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. No, it's not just the Android telemetry and the other stuff too. People talk about when they go to the hospital, they don't stay quiet about it. They'll send emails, and presumably they make Facebook posts and any number of other social media outlets. They'll say, hey, I was at X hospital with Y disease and I was there for Z days. And if you've got anonymized data about that particular trip, it would be trivial to match that up.
Yeah, very much so. Correct. And I want to focus on something I don't remember them saying here, but did these individual people, in fact, no, they did address it. Let's the next paragraph. So says that University of Chicago also failed in its duties. Quote, the university did not notify its patients, let alone obtain their express consent before turning over the confidential medical records to Google for its own commercial gain. And so what this is dealing with is in the summary of the HIPAA. So this deals with, and of course, I think I spelled it wrong on my original thing. It's a lot of people say HIPPA. It's HIPAA. I think I had that incorrect on my video description there. It basically deals with the ability to share private medical data in light of this world. I wish Brian were here because of the, he has direct experience in this, but. The idea here is that any of these medical records, sharing of this data, anytime you're sharing of medical data, you have to have the extra measures of security, the extra measures of privacy. And there's a lot of rules and regulations about who you can share data with and why you can share that data. And so basically, the first was you had to keep any identifiable medical data to yourself, and what type of diseases, but also names, heights, anything really. So it's applies to health plans, health clearinghouses, any other health care provider who transmits health information in electronic form. So if you're doing everything with paper folder records, you're actually not under this, although there's probably other laws for sharing of that data. Business associates, so anybody you're doing business with. And then some of the general rules ensure confidentiality and availability of all of the electronic health records they create, receive, maintain, or transmit. Identify and protect against reasonable anticipated threats, protect against reasonable anticipated impermissible uses, and ensure compliance with the workforce. And in this clause is the disclosures. And that's what they did not do, is they never got anybody's permission. It's just like University of Chicago and Google worked a backdoor deal to send a bunch of data over to Google. And now Google has all this data, and the hospital never actually told anybody that they were doing it, never got anybody's permission. And on this basis, they're going to lose this case, I promise you. Of course, they'll turn around and give everybody $10 or something stupid, rather than actually do something that will prevent this type of abuse in the future. And so Google is now getting into all of these things. These are the things we're talking about. Digital services which have access to your medical records. This is kind of what's on our mind here. Any other thoughts on this part from anybody here?
Well, the only other thing I could think of about this is whether or not, so the crime there is transmitting medical records without consent of the patient, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So it's not possession, it's transmission. So if you compile those yourself.
Now Google, though, could, depending on what Google's doing with them, they could be in violation of using them inappropriately, but again, not possession. Possessing them is a different case. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it.
Okay. Anybody else?
I've actually got a really good example of what our crazy government did here in Australia. So they actually introduced an electronic health record, which is actually a centralized database of people's health records. To try to make, they did. So to try to make it more safe if someone's jumping from doctor to doctor or going from doctor to the hospital, so that everyone has the same records. Mm-hmm. And to cut a long story short, nobody liked using it, and so it was at risk of becoming a white elephant. So they made everyone opt out of it. So they made it compulsory for everyone unless you opt out. So everyone sort of realized that this was a very, very bad scenario. So there was a huge rate of people opting out. What was scary about it, though, was when the initial laws came into place, people to actually have access to it, namely law enforcement and possibly also insurance companies. And that caused a massive uproar.
Yes. And that's...
So to say that only doctors and people in the health field could have access to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the reason I don't really want any of my medical records in a giant database. It's like, I don't know. Now, in the United States, the reason they want everybody on medical databases is for that reason, for doctor hoppers. We had a really bad problem. Some states particularly, there was a really bad problem with people just shopping different doctors for pain medications, and some doctors found they could make a lot of money just by, dishing out pain medications to anybody who showed up and said, my back hurts. And so with that, what ended up happening is doctors were unaware that the same patient was visiting 8 different doctors a week seeking pain medicines and getting 8 different subscriptions for the same thing. And so the centralized medical record database prevented some of those people from getting those extra pharmaceuticals. But at the same token, I don't recommend using pharmaceuticals under any circumstance outside of, real situations. Now, I also have a doctorate in the field of medical technology, so I kind of know at what point in time, should I take it? I got a tick bite at one point in time. You better believe I was taking some doxycycline, okay? Risk reward, but at the same token, I wouldn't take something because, I have a cough today. I wouldn't take something for a cough. I generally don't take something if I get feverish. I just, drink some juice and take some vitamins and maybe rest a little bit more. That's going to be better for me because you take some medicine, your body gets used to that. And I don't like the longer term ideas on that. But all that being said, I get why they did it. I just would love the option to opt out and not have that data transmitted because I don't want Google to have this data, and then, of course, Google in Seattle? Is that Seattle? No, San Francisco, wherever. San Francisco, I think. Why the University of Chicago Medical Center? Oh, they probably work deals with tons of them. This is just the one that leaked. So,
well, I mean, either that or that was just the one that bit.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, they could have thrown a number of feelers out and picked the one that they got more favorable terms with, or the few, or like you said, that's just one of many.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and check in on comments, and then we will change gears and go over and do a little bit more discussion on the FERPA next. Which
I was trying to talk, but my mic was muted.
Oh, okay, good.
I was gonna say that when you were talking about how you don't take medicine for like a cough, I usually take Advil if I have a really bad headache, but only if it's like unbearable.
Yeah.
That's usually when I take Advil.
How do you upgrade Kubuntu 18.04 to 18.10? You're going to want to go into the software sources in your application, and there is a spot in there where you can select to upgrade to the latest distributions as well.
Why would he want to upgrade to 18.10 when 19.04 is out?
I don't know. I'm just answering the question.
Yeah.
Do you have to do them in order if you're not on an LT?
I don't know, honestly. Now introducing Google Bathroom. Anna Rita, are you on today, Anna Rita? Because more information was released about Google's smart city in Toronto. Ooh. I think they have like 10 blocks or something. Yeah, Anita disclosed HIV/AIDS status. Yeah, do you guys see that one? That was last year or so. But it's like they sent out information updating about HIV/AIDS status, and the envelopes they stuffed them in had a really big window, and you can see like who was addressed, and they could see that.
Wow.
Who was the stupid person who did that?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they got fired. I mean, Atnia, like that's like the biggest health provider, healthcare, like health insurance provider in this country.
Those envelopes must have been cheaper.
I'm telling you, yeah. Oh boy. Hey, we're gonna disclose everybody's HIV/AIDS status, but it'll save us 5 cents a patient. Do it. Oh boy, Benjamin Eldridge, how's it going there? Benjamin, do you have you can jump on if you want, Benjamin. You should have the link in Think Life Media and Patreon.
He said he's trying to get his baby to sleep.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I missed that part.
To be fair, 5 cents per person does add up after a while. Like,
it does, but at the risk of disclosing everybody's HIV and AIDS status, I'd probably rather lose the 5 cents per person personally, but I have morals and ethics. I don't know about you.
Did they end up paying out any dollars for that?
I have not heard anything about it since then. That'd be a neat thing to follow up on all these news stories. All right, let's go ahead and shift gears here, and we're going to look at FERPA. So Pizza might have more words to say about this one. So FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So this one basically says that anything dealing with a student's progress in their education can't be passed. Now, this is why I said earlier when Pizza was telling us about how he was forced to agree to Google's terms. That's not technically a violation of FERPA. It should be, but it's not.
It
What
wasn't
FERPA's
Google's, it was Microsoft.
going. What's that? Oh, well, Microsoft. My apologies. Whatever. The evil corporation sucking all of your data. What's the difference, really? But anyway, FERPA deals with the transmission of educational status, so grades, things like this. So what the law will basically say is that when a student is going through, the student or the student's parents, if the student is a minor, have to sign off on any disclosing of information. So at one point in time, I was mentoring a kid, and his mother was having issues with the school district not respecting her position as the kid's mother, and they kept on trumping this education card on her, like, we have master's degrees. And so she asked me to go to an IED meeting, and I did, and I said, okay, let's settle this one first. I have a doctor. Anyone else have a doctor? Okay, good. Let's stop playing that card now, all right? But for me to participate in the meeting, she had to sign off papers. That was the FERPA waiver. So that basically meant that I could be in the meeting, whether we discussed an IEP, whether we discussed grades, whatever it happened to be. And so in the middle of all of this, FERPA is basically going to say, these are the principles. School officials with legitimate educational interests, other schools to which the student is transferring, specific officials for audit or evaluation, appropriate parties in connection with financial aid, organizations conducting certain studies for or on behalf of the school, accrediting organizations to comply with a judicial order or lawfully issued subpoena, appropriate officials in cases of health and safety emergencies, and state and local authorities within a juvenile justice system pursuant to specific state laws. So basically, a student's data, educational data, cannot be passed out. Now, what piqued me the most talking about this intersection of privacy laws such as FERPA and digital services is if you go to school, whether it be middle school, possibly elementary school, high school definitely, colleges, almost all of them now are forcing everybody to buy into these online homework software packages, which are, every one of them are third parties. You got your Pearson, you got your OWL, you got your Cengage, you got your Macmillan, you have all these things. Now, I used to sell software for one that was eventually bought by Macmillan. And as a contractor working in my own home office, I had full access to their live system, which meant I could go in there at any point in time as an individual contractor, log in and go through and browse any student per school, per district, and see their grades. That's the type of stuff we have to be paying attention to because that is a clear FERPA violation. Thoughts on that? You're muted, Pizza.
Yeah, I realized that halfway through the sentence. So... Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Man, my brother just made me forget what I was going to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll chime in by saying, yeah, I saw your online homework. Made me lose some brain cells. But...
Okay, so we use this thing called Schoology, where teachers can basically put in assignments that students can do, like PDFs and stuff. However, it's all PowerPoints or Word documents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Schoology has no way of knowing. All you can do with Schoology is just access files from the teacher. It doesn't let you do homework through Schoology.
Correct.
However, we do have something called Pearson Realize, which is what we use for math. However, again, this Pearson Realize doesn't. You can still you can enter in problems and stuff, like you can do tests and stuff. However, it gives you a score. However, it doesn't directly go into the grade. The teacher can look at your answers and decide himself your grade. with
Yeah.
Pearson Realize.
So, but here's the thing about these. Now, the first one, the Schoolology, there's no grades attached to that. There's no violation of FERPA. That's just a repository of assignments. No problems at all.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to use that? No issues. But when you deal with these, a lot of those systems, like the Pearson one, these are actually will have grades, and most teachers will take those grades and put them directly into the grade book. That's a violation of FERPA if the contractors, if other people have access to them, and the reality is they do. Now, whether or not your teacher does use them is beside the point, and whether or not your teacher uses them in addition. And before I pass the mic back to you, I also want to address Canvas, Blackboard, these other ones. These instances where teachers are generally have to put all the scores in are usually hosted on the school's own servers. So that is also not a violation of FERPA. All right, go ahead.
Well, with the Pearson Realize thing, he usually gives us scratch paper and makes us show our work, and then he grades it based on both the Pearson results and the work we showed.
Yes, and that's a good teacher. That's a good teacher, and that's fine. But still, if the system is collecting grades in any way, shape, or form and connecting it to the student name, that is a violation of FERPA, unless it's on the school servers.
And then also we have this thing called, I'm not going to put the name because it's first party. It's made by our school district. And if I said the name of it, it could be used to find my school. I'm just going to call it Grade Check. That's not the actual name. But we have something called, Grade Check, where we can check our grades and check our scores and stuff. However, it's hosted directly by our school district.
And that is also not a violation of FERPA because it's all data on there.
Here's the sketchy thing. The way we log in is when we set up our computers, we actually use our Microsoft account to log into the computers. And the way to log into GradeCheck is the exact same username and password as the school computers, which is linked to your Microsoft account. So even though it doesn't use, even though Microsoft can't directly check your grades, it's still linked to your Microsoft account, and you have to log in with Microsoft in order to check your grades. Although parents can make an account without a Microsoft account. It's just students are forced to use a Microsoft account.
Yeah, that's a questionable one that I don't think we could come up with here. All right, anybody else? Ben, you had your mic unmuted there for a second.
Oh, no. You'd think they'd put some kind of authentication to make sure. Like, you shouldn't have been able to go through and view the whole database of grades like that. But I mean,
what do you want? It's a startup company. Yeah.
A lot of that stuff started after I got out of school. I only used Blackboard a little bit back in the day.
Yeah. Hey, I had, when I was in college, we had the most crazy and rudimentary type of online thing. We literally had to do the stuff and print the paper out at the printer. There was no database storing. It was like a series of programs.
I mean, I remember having a couple teachers who didn't mind if you emailed assignments to them, and we thought that was the coolest stuff ever because we didn't have to find a printer that worked.
Whoa. And back in that day, yeah, I remember we got, we would never be deducted if the printers didn't work right, because in those days, printers rarely worked right. All right, Vince, you have kids in the school systems. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, so I mean, my daughter's in first grade. They have, at the moment, they have very, very limited exposure to technology, which I'm personally very thankful about. My question would be that even if these databases are stored locally, like in Peter's school, serious questions need to be raised still about how all this stuff is locked down and secured, because knowing about some of the budgets of schools and school districts, I don't think they have a lot to spend on security consultants and things like that. So they've got to be really careful about that. It wouldn't take much for a talented kid, for example, like Peter, but I'm not saying Peter's going to do this, to get in there and view everyone's records.
Yeah, that's true. And so on that basis, maybe it is safer at Google.
Yeah, I mean, they have, in a way, maybe, but you're still got to be careful what they do with the data too.
Yeah, you do. Like, I mean, as I was doing some YouTube consulting with an actual YouTube employee at one point in time, and they could get in there and log right into my YouTube backend account, without a problem. It makes me wonder, what else can they access? Could they have accessed, that person accessed all of the analytics for all of the customers that I manage their analytics for their websites? That's a good question. So,
Uh, I think it was Vince. You said that I could hack and view others' grades.
Yeah, but you shouldn't.
Oh, I wouldn't view others' grades. If I knew how to hack, I'd change my grades.
don't
I'd
do
change
that
my
either.
A minus. I'd change my A minus to a B plus.
Why would you do that?
If you're able to do it, then all power to you. That proves something, doesn't it?
Oh, believe me, all the cool kids at my school have bad grades. You have to have bad grades to fit in at my school.
Oh,
which is
okay.
really dumb.
So why don't you just go in and just not do homework for a while then? I mean, wouldn't that solve the problem? Get your bad grades without the potential of a felon.
Some other kid might hack in and give you all straight A's
No.
to make you an
If I
outcast.
want
There you
to
go.
get
That's what you
somebody-
need to do. You need to get in
If
there
I-
and take the coolest kid in school and give him all A pluses. You're not cool
Or
anymore.
if I wanted to get a kid I don't like in trouble, I could give myself bad grades and then say that another kid threatened to hack me and he actually did it.
Oh, ouch! All right, I think I think this conversation's going in bad places pretty quick. We better.
I shouldn't
we
give
better
people
stop.
ideas.
Yeah. We better not.
I mean,
All right.
Ferris Bueller did that, although that was his attendance record.
Yes.
Let's just say though, I have been, I've been wanting to make an unblocked game. I've been trying to get games running on the school computers forever, so I know a lot of vulnerabilities in the school network. And one of them, one time I tried to report a vulnerability I found to the school administrators, but then when I tried to report it, I couldn't get the vulnerability to work. But then directly after I stopped trying to report it, it was working again.
Wow.
Actually, it's funny you should say that because one
the
time
vulnerability involves you being able to run jar files on the school computers, but not exe files. However, you can write a jar file to run an exe file.
Nice.
How about a batch file?
You can batch files aren't allowed, but again, you can have a jar file run a batch file.
Yeah.
And another
no, it's funny you should say that because one time we managed to get Diablo 2 running on our library computers. They never found out.
Oh, I got Minecraft running on the school computers, and then they patched it, and I had to make another version.
You should just put Minecraft on the school printers. That'd be more fun, right?
I could put Doom on the printers.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So Gnostic says Salt Lake City and Deseret are weird places to travel around. I've not been to Deseret. I've been to Salt Lake many times. If I wanted to see civilization when I lived out west, Salt Lake City was one of the two places we'd go.
Another
Typing on
thing
a Chromebook.
is
Like nerds. No, you have nothing to fear. Yep.
Another thing is I found a vulnerability where you can run some CMD commands through the Windows search thing. The search bar with like Cortana, you can run some CMD commands. However, one of the commands is netstat, and the Wi-Fi password is different for everyone, and it's the same password you use to log into the computer. So if somebody left their computer running, you can run netstat on their computer and get their password.
There you go.
It's really dumb.
Oh, and this is where they're putting all that data. Yes, Vince has a very good point about that. Ashton Snap, you probably did not get notified because it went weird. We had to rebuild the stream from scratch when we started.
Although you can only do this vulnerability on a laptop because the desktops are all plugged in with Ethernet.
So it has to be on wireless then.
Yeah, it has to be on a laptop.
But what if you plug in a USB wireless dongle?
Oh, it would still connect through Ethernet. And if you unplug an Ethernet cable on the desktop, then it has a blue screen saying Ethernet tampering detected, and then it keeps that up until you plug it back in.
So in other words, if you attempt to block it from using the telemetry, tracking everything you do in real time, it yells at you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That sounds like a place I'd like to go to school.
every single year the security gets stronger. However, they overlook so much.
Yeah.
They like try and make it. They try and add more restrictions every year, but then they also don't fix ways you can bypass the restrictions that they have
All right.
added. So,
So,
like for example, when I was in 5th grade, exe files were allowed, and even MSI files were allowed, so I could actually install programs. However, then when I got into 6th grade, they blocked those. However, what weren't blocked were you could run you could change your wallpaper. Then in 7th grade, they blocked that, although you still can by running a CMD command through the Windows search thing. And this year, they fixed that, and they also made it so you can no longer run .io websites. However, you can just use a VPN. Every single restriction they add is super easy to bypass.
wow.
And they aren't
right.
overlooking that.
So basically, to wrap up, what we've been looking at is there's privacy laws, there's HIPAA, and there's FERPA, and a lot of these new digital services, digital companies are trying to get around those. And this requires us, and the sad thing is that unfortunately the politicians in this country aren't smart enough to see the violations until they're already too bad at violations. So with that being said, what is everybody's final thoughts on this? Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I think if the core problem here is the failure to ask for consent.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody was presented that choice and they opt in, or even if it's opt out, so long as the choice is made very clear,
mm-hmm.
that should be honored. And at least in the case of this article, it's speculation. It's a lawsuit. It doesn't have any status beyond the filing, I think. Then, I mean, that's okay if you want to give up your data. I guess I'd like to hold on to mine, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as long as it's consent. Pizza, final thoughts on the subject. You're muted. Pizza, you're muted.
Come on, I lost my special moment right there.
I know.
Anyways, I agree that Google should be sued for the matter because they shouldn't be able to have that much data. And if we want Google to have our medical data, we should have the right to give it to them ourselves and not have them forcefully take it from us.
Correct.
And for the school thing, I don't think we should even have our own accounts on the computers to begin with. I think that they should have one account that all the students use on the computer. And instead, for storing files, they should give each student a flash drive that they have to pay for if they lose.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then that way they can still track the school computers to make sure nobody's using it for something nefarious. However, it's also anonymized, so then they can't find stuff. They won't be able to figure out stuff like who did the nefarious thing.
Yeah.
Well, now
they could actually using your anonymized model because you know what computer it is and you know what classroom it is. The teacher should have a record of what student was sitting in what classroom.
But I'm saying that you wouldn't be able to identify stuff like for example, if somebody bypassed school. Now that I'm saying it, my point kind of sounds dumb. But I think we shouldn't be able to have we shouldn't have a first party or third party stuff for looking at our grades. Schoolology and Pearson Realize make sense, although those shouldn't be tied to your Microsoft account. I forgot to mention for both Pearson Realize and Schoolology, it's also tied to your Microsoft account.
Well,
nothing should be
the Pearson one. That type of system should not exist because that is a clear violation of FERPA, that it is something that is used for real grades on somebody else's servers where unknown people have access to. That is a problem. The Schoolology one, there's no grades attached to it, so that one doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on.
My last final thought.
we're going to hold on there. We're going to wrap up the recorded part, and then you can come back. Vince, what's your final thoughts?
My thoughts are that there are still certain things that should remain absolutely sacred, and health data is one of them. Probably education data as well, mainly because of the consequences that this stuff leaking out could have. And I would make also the analogy of, things like there wouldn't really be any employee these days that wouldn't search someone's social media accounts when trying to employ someone new. And so if this stuff is out there, even if it's so-called de-anonymized, employers making that link between a certain person and a certain health condition, and that's a really dangerous thing. So every single measure that can be taken should be taken to protect this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. We're moving too fast for these sectors, and we need to slow down a little bit. Hey, slow down that progress just a little bit, because there's serious consequences that once the cat gets out of that bag, it is not going back in. So, all right, well, that is all of our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts down below. All right, Pizza, what were your final point?
Oh, I was going to say that I hope nobody who's in my school's network administration is watching this stream.
I'd be shocked if they didn't know where to find it.
Well,
Still, I always manage to find vulnerabilities every single time.
Well, maybe then your future career, you should be a white hat hacker. Honestly.
Yeah, but in a way, you're helping them, aren't you?
Yeah, no, because I've been taking advantage of them to get games running.
Well, no, Pizza, you'll be the last one to do it.
Yeah, there you go.
I should make an agreement with them where they unblock exe files for me, but if I find a vulnerability, then, I have to report all vulnerabilities I find.
There you go. All right. Oh, what is Helm?
Yeah.
John Sweeta says, "Do I use Helm and do a segment on it?" I have no idea what Helm is. What are we talking about?
I just discovered something sketchy that Zorin OS does with Brave.
What's that?
If you turn on auto contribute on Brave, then it automatically contributes everything to ZorinOS.com.
What do you mean contributes? What is the
you know how
feature?
the Brave rewards thing, where when you browse it collects stuff and then it automatically donates to your frequent sites? Well, I'm a screen share here.
We're still live, just so you know, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. All right, good.
It automatically contributes 100% of all of your BAT to ZorinOS.com.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Is that the default, or do you have to turn that on?
Oh, you have to turn on auto contribute. However, when you do, everything goes to ZorinOS. And another thing is that if I go to settings, it says my browser is being managed by an organization. Hold on. Here we go. It's being managed by my organization, and if I click on it, it says my browser is being managed, and I think that this has something to do with Zorin OS.
I would ask the Zorin team about those things.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them that, because that's, I don't know, just tampering with Brave browser like that, because I can't unmanage my browser. I'm forced to be managed by Zorin OS. And that kind of, I'm going to ask them about that.
And is that installed from the repos?
No, this was installed from Brave's PPA.
Oh.
So
I don't know if that would have anything to do with Zorin then necessarily, but I don't know for sure. That might be a good question to ask both of them and see if their answers both agree.
This is Brave's PPA, and I think that it's tampering with the dev file or something, because this is kind of weird. Because I didn't set this up. And I noticed that when I installed Brave, the default homepage was the Zorin OS page, the search engine. And same with every other browser I've installed. Right here, I'm actually doing some web development for my stepdad, so I have Chrome, Firefox, Chromium, Brave, and Vivaldi installed, and Opera. All of those defaulted to Zorin OS's search page.
Yeah, I know when I actually installed Dissenter, it did the same thing. It defaults to Zorn's start page as well. And of course, that was a .deb package.
Yeah, I installed Brave.deb
Then
package too.
I know, of course, I know
automatically
why they
added
did
Brave
it. They did it because otherwise I would see the most offensive picture in the history of the world, and that would be the Dissenter startup tab. Because apparently
I'm
it's
going
offensive
to-
enough to be blocked by Mastodon.
I am
so.
going to contact Zorn about this.
All
I
right,
also
you
want to
did-
contact Brave and ask why about the if you're under 18, how do you receive BAT?
Yeah. So Steve Anderson says if you do choose to do it as a career, the big tech companies pay bounties. Yes. Being a freelance hacker, that'd be actually a decent paying job. Yeah, you'll get paid okay if you work for the companies finding their vulnerabilities, but if you're not working for the companies finding their vulnerabilities, they pay you a lot better.
Well,
There's
'cause
just no
then
guarantee
you
of
can
that.
make them an offer they can't refuse.
That's right. I can make you an offer. Anna Rita, now you're on, Anna Rita. Anna Rita, more information was released about Google's smart city section of Toronto. Be scared. Be very scared.
Check this out. It's the world's smallest non-functioning SNES controller. I 3D printed it
Nice. Very sweet.
in
That's
my
cool.
computer-aided design class.
Very cool.
I
See,
made
you should make
this
it
using
functional.
Autodesk Inventor
Nice.
on
That's
Windows.
awesome. Hey, you guys on. Greetings, Ricky. How's it going there? There's late life took over, aka gardening. Hey, there you go. Yeah. I think I need to repot some of my plants. I do have some tomato flowers going. I have some beans already sprouting out. The couple of my tomato plants are not actually growing very quickly, so I'm like, interesting. Let's see. What else is going on in the publicosphere? Let's see if I missed any comments too.
I'm emailing the Zorn OS team right now.
Yeah. They're usually pretty good. Like, they sent me some information about the security thing, or the privacy things I was questioning.
Was that about the Dissenter browser?
No, it was because if you remember the video I did, I'd raised a couple of questions. One of those questions was about the check home, so the Zorn OS census, and the other one is the location services for the timing to change the system clock settings. So,
Did you ever get a response back about Dissenter?
oh,
Your video being blocked?
from that? Nope. No. But actually, it turned out this was interesting. I linked this as the pinned comment on that video I did on Dissenter yesterday. Apparently, the Mastodon.social instance, which is Mastodon's, that's the developers, I guess, they actually have a ban on site policy for Gab properties. Which is interesting, for sure. Let me boot up this video and I can go read the policy there. Actually, you know what? I'll do it over here so we can actually see it. I'll show everybody what we're talking about. This is kind of an exciting thing. All right.
Okay, I just did more research. As it turns out, it does not. It actually doesn't send. Zorn OS did not adjust the Brave rewards thing because I went to another website that I commonly use that is a part of it, the Brave rewards, and now it's sending 75% of the BAT to that website.
Okay.
However,
so you can change that anyway. All right.
Yeah.
So
it's just auto going to, I guess, sites that accept it that are commonly used.
So this is actually on the Mastodon.social. So Mastodon.social is Gorgon, or Eugene is the the guy who runs it. He says, so Gab has decided that their own code they spent $5 million of investing money developing is so unsalvageably bad that they're going to use Mastodon's code instead, with the added bonus of leeching off our apps, with Gab apps being banned from app stores. This is an early warning to fellow admins to be vigilant and domain block them on site when and if they appear. Unconfirmed whether or not they intend to federate, and if to app devs to consider blocking Gab's domains from their app as is necessary. That's a little bit goofy. And so some of the people are coming out here going, well, then you need to pull and revoke the license and make it not free and open source software, because you're kind of violating what that is. You know, you can't just say, oh, this is free to use except for you guys, you know. And so apparently this probably has something to do with the fact, you know, that these guys didn't like, you know, they don't like Gab. So I don't know. I'm not anticipating hearing anything back, because apparently I'm an evil, you know, white nationalist or something. I don't know.
It seems like they missed the point on free and open source software on that one.
They seem to, yes. But yeah, there's a little bit of discussion back and forth. Bunch of people that probably got banned because, you know, they were calling him out, and apparently he does not have thick skin, so. Very interesting.
Okay, so I just sent an email to ZornOS. I asked if the fact that I put, hey, I noticed that when I install browsers that do not come with ZornOS, it automatically sets the homepage to the ZornOS search page, even when I install a browser from a PPA or deb package. I was wondering if this was unintentional or on purpose for branding reasons. That's what I sent them. And then I put thanks in advance, Pete Sorving Nerd.
But a Helm is a private server you buy for home email. No, well, yeah, I haven't had a need to get a... Oh, wait, hold on. Did I hear about this thing or not? Okay, so I guess Helm is a private server you buy for your home email contacts. Okay, so the reason I haven't is because when you run a email server out of a home internet connection that is not a corporate internet connection, ISPs get really squirrely about that, and so that's even why I don't teach people how to build an email server on your home network. It's extremely insecure. You really have to know exactly what you're doing to secure it. You can do it. It's just something that it's not good, and a lot of ISPs will not let you do that. They'll look at that and say, "Oh, that qualifies as a business account," and then they try and jack up your internet bill, 10 times. Okay. Thought Mastodon was a little more easygoing. No, apparently they're just banhammer. White Nazis! That's it. I did have somebody else contact me. Did I delete this email, or is it still here? I can't remember. Nah, I'll read it to you guys after we go off live. I'll let my supporters hear that one. Just finished reading the ebook. All right, very cool, very cool. What'd you think of it, Anarita? How'd you like that? Ben just disappeared.
I think I'm gonna go because I have to eat dinner.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Free and open source speech? Hey, why not? All right, I think what we're going to do is we will kind of wrap this one up here. So, any final thoughts? I'm not sure if Ben's still there or not, but Vince, any final thoughts?
Actually, I want to say something else. I wanted to just thank you, Tom, for doing what you do and making the content that you do, and especially for making it so newbie friendly. Because yours was the first channel that I found when I jumped into Linux. And there's been a lot of talk lately on the other channels that I follow about community, and I think it's a really great thing that you and a lot of the other guys do. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you are welcome. We are all glad to do it that I know of. All right. I will be, of course, live streaming in 1 hour on my Christian channel. We're talking about the mega church merger, how sometimes mega churches kind of move in, and just like corporate buyouts, they'll kind of move into a town, and the little tiny churches will go die, and then they'll be phagocytized by the mega church merger. Definitely an interesting discussion, and we're going to be digging through that, looking at the book of Revelation. So that will be 9 o'clock on my other channel. I hope to see you guys over there. Google is your friend. Alexa told me so. Oh boy. Is Google your friend, Vince?
I'm losing him. I'm losing him.
Is Alexa your friend?
Never met her.
Never met her. All right. Ben, how's it going? Final words, Ben?
Sorry, I just left the room for a second. The, be aware of what, what's being collected, and, cognizant that, even anonymized data, if you have enough of it, can be de-anonymized, especially if you have previously consented to other services guaranteed to collect your data.
Absolutely. Yeah, so be careful with all that. All right, so with that, I think we will go offline. Apologies for the crazy rough start we had here, but nothing I can do about Google. All right, well, we will catch you guys later, and have yourselves... Oh, wait, hold on. Do I need to feed a kitty? Kitty, you want to get fed? You want some kitty treats? You want some kitty treats? We'll feed the kitty, and then we'll jump off. Alrighty. Come on up, buddy cat. Come on. Come on. Yeah, look at that. We got a kitty. Hungry, hungry catto. Although he's getting as big as a hippo, wouldn't he? Anyway. Come on. Did you get one? I think you got it. There you go. And let's go with one more here. There you go. Their finger looking good as usual. May the source be with me. All right. May the source code be with me. All right. Yeah, Spin Viking. Sorry, man. You're late to the party. We will be streaming on my other channel in about 50 minutes, so join me on over there. Link is there in the comments. So thanks for coming along, guys, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Kitty just